What if they engineered our identity through our survival? I'm an American Indian chief who spent years believing I was an African American. My indigenous name is Basija Pajay, and I am helping foundational Black women investigate the historical records, government classifications, and cultural narratives that shape their identities at a time when Americans are increasingly re examining ancestry, history, and belonging. This is part 3 of 6 in the series Reproductive Engineering is a Civil Rights Issue, the Untold Story of Slavery's Architecture. What if the behaviors we've been taught to see as our nature, our strength, our resilience, even our struggles, aren't who we are at all? What if they're survival strategies shaped by systems designed to fracture our families and profit from our pain? What if they're engineered by one of the most profitable systems in history? Because once you see the architecture, you can never unsee it. For generations, we asked the wrong question. We asked, what's wrong with us? Maybe the better question is, what happened to us? Colonial slavery wasn't just a labor system. It was an architecture, a system that reshaped family life through violence, law, and economic incentives. Families were torn apart. Survival became the only option. It turned Black women's wombs into economic assets through laws like Partus sequitur ventrem, where a child's legal status followed the mother, ensuring every birth increased inherited property. At the same time, violence, propaganda, and racial terror reshaped what survival looked like. Imagine living in a world where protecting your family could get you killed, where children could disappear overnight. In that environment, people adapted. Over generations, these systems rewarded certain behaviors and punished others. Black men were forced into roles of emotional suppression and self protection, while Black women were burdened with extraordinary resilience, expected to hold families together under impossible conditions. These survival patterns became so deeply embedded that they started to look like identity. These were not identities, these were adaptations. The real fracture comes when we realize we've mistaken survival for culture, and we've accepted stereotypes that were originally created to justify oppression. The endlessly self sacrificing, strong Black woman didn't come from our culture. The image of the hypersexual buck wasn't born in Black communities. They came from systems of control, systems that use propaganda, trauma, and social conditioning to justify violence and exploitation. But here's the truth. Research across history, psychology, and trauma studies points towards the same pattern. Historians document reproductive exploitation as central to slavery's economy. Trauma researchers show that severe trauma can influence stress responses across generations. Psychological frameworks explore how historical trauma continues reshaping family systems today. No single discipline tells the whole story, but together, they reveal an architecture. And when we mistake survival for identity, we allow the systems that created them to keep shaping us. And that's the revelation. These patterns are not your identity. They're evidence of what people had to become to survive extraordinary historical conditions. When we confuse survival with identity, the systems keep reproducing itself long after the original laws disappear. But when we recognize the difference, healing becomes possible. Healing begins when we recognize the difference, when we stop asking what's wrong with us and start asking what happened to us. That shift opens the door to reclaiming our authentic identities. We move from inherited survival to authentic kinship, from shame to curiosity, from blame to understanding. So maybe the question isn't, why are we like this? Maybe it is, what parts of me are truly mine? And what parts was someone before me forced to carry so that I could survive? Because your future doesn't have to be built on inherited survival. It can be built on truth. And truth is where reclamation begins. Our ancestors left us clues. The strength they used to survive can now be used to heal. But healing requires us to question the stories we've inherited, to rebuild relationships on truth, reciprocity, and dignity, not survival. Have you ever wondered where your story truly begins? If your body has always held a truth your mouth was never given words for, about your womb, your lineage, was engineered to someone else's blueprint. Save this. The matriarch remembers, and now so do you. Share it with your Bisogo. That's Big Sis, the old gorgeous one. The woman who has quietly held space for your growth while you figure things out. Thank you for listening with open heart and an open mind. Remember, understanding doesn't happen overnight. It happens one question at a time. I'm Basija Pajay. It's time to reclaim our stories, reclaim our identities, and reclaim our truth.